I know this is a long video, but stay tuned because there is a lot of juicy information. What's going on, guys? It's your boy CBS back with another Destiny video. So if you're following the Gameinformer Rise of Iron release schedule or their reveal schedule, today is another one of those big days. Today they had a full 4-page spread on their 3 days they got to spend playing the Rise of Iron. Now I'm gonna cover the important topics. I'm not gonna cover every word for word that they talked about in the article, but I will link it in the description if you want to read it. But yeah, I'm only going to cover the main topic points that I found or I felt like were the most important or that are going to be the most value to you as the listener or the viewer or whatever you want to call it. So to start off, Gameinformer spent 3 full days with Rise of Iron, wandering, discovering, and learning all about the story, the characters, and of course the battles in Rise of Iron. After their playtime was over, their overall initial feeling was excitement. They are just excited to play more of it as we are to get it for the first time, which is a good sign in my opinion. I think that if they're getting a pre-copy of this to test it and to give us our information about it, and they're excited to play it when it comes out because they want to sink their teeth into it more, I feel like that shows that there is a plethora of content in there that we're going to enjoy. Now, replayability. They talked about how they got the vibe from Bungie that they were really focusing on the replayability in the Rise of Iron. Now, although the Rise of Iron is not as big as the Taken King, they definitely put a lot of effort into the replayability of the content that they did create. Now, they even went into talking about details as far as the Festival of Lost event in October, as well as Sparrow Racing League coming out in December of 2016. So it's nice to know that Bungie is a little bit more open booked when it comes to their future schedule. Now, after December of 16, I don't see much else coming out for Bungie or for Destiny until Destiny 2. Now, I'm sure they'll have one more thing. That'll probably be something like all the raids, all previous raids will drop, or be able to be infused up, but that's just my idea of what they're going to do as a one last bang for Destiny, the first installment of Destiny. Now, Felwinter's Peak, they talked about it being a snowy mountaintop, and it almost feels like you're living in the wild when you're there. They also talked about that there's a secret location in there, or a secret area that's locked away only for special events. It's just like the tower and where the current Iron Banner location is. It's just like that area is locked away during normal times, and then when the Iron Banner comes, or when the Queen came in Destiny Year 1, those areas open up. So that Felwinter's Peak will also have something like that. They talked about the new vendors. They also talked about Lord Saladin selling a new Engram called Iron Engrams, and those are gonna be for sale. And the loot from the Iron Engrams is gonna be Year 1 and Year 2 armor. So for those Year 1 and Year 2 collectors that deleted something they didn't want or that they couldn't hold anymore, this will be your chance to get some Year 1 and Year 2 armor to give you that nostalgic feel that they're going for with the Rise of Iron. Now, they also talked about Radiant Treasure. Radiant Treasure is going to be just like Sterling Treasure from Year 2, but it's also going to contain ornaments to customize your exotics, and of course it's going to be sold from the Eververse Trading Company. I'm not a fan of microtransactions, but if you want to search for those ornaments to customize your Red Death or your non-iron or your Iron Gallahorn or whatever, by all means, buy them up. They also talked about Eververse Trading Company selling cosmetic artifacts. Ones like they reference one called the Golden Age Lens and more just like it. And he said those are going to be all cosmetic, and they're going to be targeted more like the players that do like the in-game movies. They do those funny voiceovers with the no HUD feature. That sounds pretty fun. I feel like us as a community can make some really funny videos using cosmetic artifacts, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Who knows the creativity level of this community. If you've been a part of the Destiny community long enough, you know that there has been some amazing videos created. I mean, just look at Bife. He makes some amazing lore videos just off of cards. You know what I'm saying? He's reading cards and creating a visual story for us to digest. So it's great to see that they're also adding cosmetic features in there within the game for us to do it as well. So that's pretty cool. Now, the Plague Lands, of course, they talked about the Plague Lands extensively, but I'm only going to cover stuff that I haven't already talked about before. So the first thing that they said was that to curb your expectations, the Plague Lands is still old Russia. The only difference is it has a SIVA twist. It's going to contain hidden loot caches just like every other planet, but the only difference is some of these chests will actually be traps, such as exploding mines when you open it, or other surprises like enemies and things like that. Of course, when you go to the Plague Lands, you're going to have new SIVA type public events that will occur randomly, just like, on Earth or Mars or whatever. Even on the Dreadnought, you have those random public events. So you will expect the same type of content or same type of experience when you go to the Plague Lands. If you don't want to experience the Plague Lands and you want to see the old Russia in its previous glory, of course, you can go to old Russia and it will be just like that. The Plague Lands is only going to look SIVA infected when you go to the Plague Lands specifically, or you do Plague Land specific missions. In the game, the SIVA is known as Iron's Bane, so that's good to know that, because we've heard that in the trailer, and we've heard Saladin saying stuff like that, and we've heard other people in the game reference Iron's Bane long before Rise of Iron. So it's cool to know, kind of give us that backstory of what Iron's Bane is. So SIVA is known as Iron's Bane. In the Plague Lands, you're going to have new fragments to find, just like on the Dreadnought. Some of them are actually going to be tied into quests like the Gallowhorn. They encourage players that pre-ordered the Iron Gallowhorn and Iron Gallerwing to complete the quest for the Gallowhorn, just to experience it. Now, if you're a Destiny player, you're going to attempt to at least experience all the content that's available to you. Because even me pre-ordering Rise of Iron, I'm still going to play the Gallowhorn quest just to see what it's like, because apparently it's supposed to be similar to the Night Stalker quest or the Stormcaller quest, where you discover, kind of the backstory of the Gallowhorn. So that should be fun. Now, the Archon Forge, they talked about the Archon Forge, of course, is going to be within the Plague Lands, so you'll have to go to the Plague Lands to get to the Archon Forge. And it's going to be just like Court of Oryx, in the sense that you're going to have to use runes, or, well, they're not calling them runes, but you're going to need tokens to activate the Archon's Forge events. But it's different from Court of Oryx, because if you die and you choose to respawn, you will not be able to return to the event until it's over. It will contain its own Archon Forge armor and weapon specifics. So everybody, like I said, I'm going to continue on, but I love the fact that there's so many different places to go to get different types of loot. So Archon's Forge is going to have its own specific armor and weapons, which is amazing to me, because I feel like the Court of Oryx should have had that too, but it didn't. Now let's talk about some of the new loot types that they discussed. They talked about Archon Forge gear that you're going to be able to get, which is more of a futuristic look. They also talked about the raid gear from the Wrath of the Machine raid for Rise of Iron, and they also said that gear is going to look super futuristic. They went over the Iron Lord gear, which is kind of a medieval Viking look, and you get that from earning progress in the record book. Iron Banner gear, of course, you're going to get from Iron Banner, and it also has like a medieval Viking look, but it's more military style in its appearance. They also talked about all Year 2 gear being able to be infused up to the new light level cap of 385. And this really blew my mind, because they talked to the developers for Rise of Iron, and they said that vault space will not be expanded upon the release of Rise of Iron. So for me, I know my weapon vault, the vault for my weapons, is completely full. I have trouble with that, dealing with that already. And they're saying now that they're not increasing the vault space. So it's kind of odd to me that them dropping last gen, where they wouldn't increase the vault space, but I'm sure they'll have the reasons. They didn't rule it out completely. They just said that upon the release of Rise of Iron, they will not be increasing the vault space, which is kind of a bummer. Trials of Osiris. I know a lot of people care about that. Trials of Osiris, their words were, the new gear and new weapons are amazing. They used the word super amazing. I think it was like they were super excited about how good the gear looked in Trials of Osiris. They also talked about the Trials of Osiris ornaments and how amazing they were. They said that they don't know of any changes to the mode, but they do know that ornaments for the Trials of Osiris gear will only come from the flawless runs. If you don't know what ornaments are just going to be more customization to your weapons, to allow you to change the colors, change the appearance, make the Red Death look like, some other pulse rifle that you like, make it look like the Hopscotch Pilgrim as an example. The same thing goes for the Wrath of the Machine raid gear. Raid ornaments will only come from the challenge mode when that's released after the obviously hard mode comes out. So raid gear is not going to be as customizable in the beginning. They also talked about strikes. Strikes are going to be a little bit more fun than they have been in the past, because for me, I know I get burnt out on strikes probably after no more than 5, just because, you know, you already know how it's going to end. You don't know whether you are or not going to get strike specific loot, and it's just the unpredictability of it. And, you know, with them adding the burns recently, that changed the strikes experience, so I do like that. So that, on top of the new loot that you earn from it called skeleton keys, is going to completely change the way you play strikes. So skeleton keys can be earned from every time you complete the nightfall. You'll earn a skeleton key, as well as it'll be a random reward from that you can get from, I guess, competing in the strike playlist. Now you can only carry up to 5 of these at a time, and you can use them to open chests at the end of the strike, allowing you to get strike specific gear that you want from the strike that you want. So if you earn a skeleton key from the nightfall, you can easily just go into the lower level strike from, let's say, Omnigul, open her chest up, and get that, you know, that Grasp of Malik that you've been praying for, whatever. So farming these keys will be fun, and trying to use those to farm the new gear that we want. It'll make it a lot easier instead of hoping that it drops. As an example, for me, I've still not got the Taniks cloak, and I think it's the best looking cloak in the game, and I've been playing forever and I still haven't got it. So this is going to allow me to get that Taniks cloak finally. Jesus. So the new record book system as well was something that they talked about. They said it's going to be a useful guide for players to show their progress, and also give them a guidance on what they should be doing next, or what, I guess, the next goal for them to do. Now the tracking for the record book is going to be account wide, so it's not going to be character based, it's going to be account based, allowing you to work towards that Iron Lord gear for all characters on one character. So for me, I'm a hunter main. I've got almost 40 days played on my hunter, and I only have like 8 days played on my Titan. My Titan is my least played character. But knowing that if I grind and I, you know, play on my hunter nonstop, or exclusively, at least in the beginning, that I'll still be working towards that Iron Lord gear, which according to these guys from Gameinformer looks like some of the best gear in the game. It's nice to know that I'll be able to make that progress towards my Titan without having to complete everything all over again. So overall, from the 3 days they spent with Rise of Iron, they said that although it's not as full as the Taken King, it has plenty of new and exciting content to digest. They said that this is definitely the most customizable that our Guardians have ever been, and that's something that we can look forward to in Destiny 2. And they also went on, I guess, a full-on rant about artifacts. And I already covered artifacts in a different video. I went into full detail on my thoughts about artifacts, but they talked about how artifacts are a true game changer. Just the ability to stack, you know, your artifact on top of different exotics that were previously needed to get the perks from the artifacts, and using those to stack those on top of player perks and things like. It was a full-on rant. It was exciting that they were excited, which made me excited. So anyways, that's my, I guess, recap of the 3 days spent with Bungie on the Rise of Iron. Let me know what you guys think. The full article, if you want to read it, it is a long read, but it was still enjoyable. If you want to read it, it will be linked in the description box below, right below the like button. If you're brand new to the channel, subscribe. I put out Destiny content on the regular basis. Some days, you know, more often than others, but for the most part, I'm putting it out on a regular basis. I really do appreciate all the support that I've been receiving on the channel. We're over 22,000 now, which is not a lot for some, but it's amazing for me because I appreciate and I try to communicate with everybody that is a part of my family. So with that being said, my name is CBS. If you're brand new, subscribe. As always, be safe. Tell your mother to call me, and I will catch you guys in the next video.
What are you waiting for? Do it! Yes, you can!